Welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 Practice Assessment by Megan Reese. Now you'll notice that this lesson is not lesson 1. This is like a pre-lesson 1, okay? This is to make sure that you have your basics about PowerPoint down before you start on lesson 1, which is going to start with the expansion lesson. So it's going to expand on the basics. So we're assuming on lesson 1 that you already know your basics in PowerPoint. So like our other lessons, if you've done Word and Excel, we had a practice assignment where you learned all the features, and then we had an application where you practiced using those features in a real-world situation. In PowerPoint, you're going to have one practice assignment, and all the rest are applications that don't have a practice that goes with them, okay? And so everything after this lesson is going to expand on what's in this lesson. And there will be some new features, of course, that are not in this lesson. So the first thing you're going to want to do is look through and ask yourself, do I already know this? Okay, do I know how to add backgrounds? You may be like, oh yeah, I can change a background in a PowerPoint, but do you know how to do a solid, a gradient, a pattern, a texture, and a picture? If you know that, check the box. Do I know how to do placeholders and all these different types? So check the box and see what you know and what you don't know. Now, in my class, I allow students to skip this lesson entirely if they know how to do it all, okay? Or they can just do the parts that they don't know and practice it, and so that they're ready. So it's just a pre-assessment to see where you're at. Your teacher may require you to do the full assignment. You'll have to ask your teacher about that, but it is designed to be skippable if you already know your basics in PowerPoint. Because I find that most students, especially if they've already done Word and Excel, if they do this one last, they pick up PowerPoint super fast because they have some background in PowerPoint already, and a lot of this you already learned in Excel and Word. So do that first, do a quick assessment of where you're at, and then we're going to go through and discuss how to do each of these things. So remember, you're going to pull this up, and you're going to start following these directions and following it exactly as it tells you. If there's something you don't know how to do, if you're like, oh, I can't remember how to do Format Painter, refer to this video, watch just that section. But don't go through this whole video all at once and just watch it and be done. Or don't copy exactly what I'm doing in this video, because you have your own directions here of what you're going to create. So don't just copy everything I do, okay? Make sure you're following these directions and using this video as needed. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start just a blank PowerPoint here. I'm going to add some new slides. So if you want to add a new slide, you just click on this to get new slides. Okay, and I'm going to have 6 different slides. And we're going to start out with backgrounds. Okay, so there are several different types of backgrounds you can do. Never leave a background white unless there's a really good reason for it. Makes you look lazy when you don't add a background to a PowerPoint. So we're going to go ahead and add a background. You can either right-click on the white area and do Format Background, or you can go to the Design tab and click on Format Background over here, okay? And there are 5 kinds in here, technically, even though this is picture texture, okay? So Solid Fill is exactly what you think. It's just going to let you add a solid color to the background. You can go to More Colors and choose a different color if you like, if you want to be more specific about the color that you pick, okay? Let's go on to number 2 is the gradient. So when you add a gradient, you're going to actually create a gradient in here. And you can pick the colors that you want, and you can add stops by clicking, and it gives you a new stop. And you can kind of decide what you want those stops to be. That's obnoxious. If you don't want one, you just click on it and drag it out of there, okay? So you can also choose which type it's going to be, linear or radial or rectangular or whatever, okay? So I picked a super obnoxious little shade here. Let's get rid of that because that's just obnoxious as anything. Okay, so once you have yours figured out, sure, I guess we'll do that. The next one we're going to do is a picture or texture fill, or actually we're going to do a pattern fill for this one. So pattern fill is just 2 colors and a pattern. It's very grating, it's hard to look at, so I don't use it very often, but I want to make sure you know all the options that you can do. I tend to pick 2 colors that are rather similar to each other, so it's not quite as jarring to the eye to look at. So that's what I suggest you do when you pick it. If you pick something like this, or you do something like that, that's just bleh. You look at that and you can't write on that. You're not going to be able to see it. So I would do something kind of innocuous that way. All right, number 4 is a texture fill. So you're going to click on Picture Texture Fill. Sorry, this is coming up from a previous lesson and I can't make it stop, but you're going to click on right here where it says Texture and pull this down. Now these textures are they just come with PowerPoint. I don't think PowerPoint has updated these in ages. They're the same ones from like 2003. I don't know why they've never changed them. But you're going to go ahead and add a background. I find them rather obnoxious, but again, in this lesson, we're not trying to make anything pretty. We're not trying to make a workable document. We're just practicing. We're just trying all this stuff out. So we're not trying to make it pretty. We'll be doing that in our future ones. So you can go ahead and click on one, and if you want, you can change the transparency a little bit so it's not quite as obnoxious. Transparencies are great for picture backgrounds. All right, number 5, we're going to do a picture background, and you can do insert and then go to online pictures. And if you have online pictures available to you, you can just do a search for something, except you probably want to spell it right. And you can pull that in as your background. Lovely. That's really bright though, right? So I probably want to change my transparency a lot lighter. That's a mistake a lot of kids make, is they're like, yeah, but the picture's really pretty, but if I can't see your writing, then I'm kind of losing the point, right? So you want to make sure that you change the transparency on picture backgrounds. So let me go back and fix that. Now, if you're like in my room, when my kids tried to do online pictures, it's blocked. The school's blocked it. I don't know, it doesn't work for some reason. So you'll just want to go in here to regular Google or whatever system you're using. Type in the picture, go grab it, save it in your folder. You do have to save it. You can't copy and paste it if you want it as a background. Okay. So I'm going to throw that in my pictures. Okay. And then you would still go get it, but you do it from File, and you'd go grab it from where it is in your folder. And for some reason I can't find it. I don't know where it is, so I'll just grab this one. I don't know where I put it. So that's one way to do it. And then your last one, you're going to do picture texture fill from File, and just go find something that you have in your folder, just like we did a minute ago, save it or whatnot, and make that your background. So I'm going to add that as my background, and again, I'm going to make the transparency lighter. Okay. So on your assignment, the 6th slide is going to have a picture provided for you that you need to choose. So you'll want to get it out of the folder that's given to you for the practice assignment. All right, let's go ahead and move on to transitions. So we're going to click on the transitions tab, and a transition is just how the next slide comes in. And there are lots of them in here. Some are super obnoxious, like that one. And you can kind of decide which one you want to use. And for this assignment, we're just playing. We can be as obnoxious as we want in this one because we're just learning. So don't feel like you have to make it pretty. You can if you want. If you're in a professional PowerPoint, you wouldn't do that. You would only use maybe the same one every time, or only use it on the first slide. You don't want to overuse transitions, or they're pretty obnoxious. The next thing we're going to do is fonts. This may be a big review for you if you've done other programs, but we're going to go ahead and type in title slide. And your assignment will have you do something more specific, but I can go into Home. I can choose whichever font I want. I can make it bigger. I like to use the plus and minus to make it bigger. Although you can select a size, you can even type in a size. So if you want bigger than it's giving you, you can type in a size if you really want it to be huge. Okay, and then notice I can move stuff around. If I put my 4-sided arrow, I can move it where I want. Okay, so if I need to move it, I can. Type in my name. Okay, if you want to change the font color, you would just highlight it, go to this little A guy right here, and change it to a different color. I'm actually going to leave mine black because it looks good with that color. All right, the next thing is Format Painter. So let's say I come in here and I'm like, okay, this is slide 1. I'm going to go ahead and title each of my slides. I'm going to be really original here and just put names in. Okay, so I went ahead and named all of those. And then I'm like, okay, I want this one to be in, I don't know, this font, and I want it this big, and whatever. So now I'm going to use my Format Painter. Okay, so Format Painter copies the formatting. So instead of the word. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to push my Format Painter button. Notice it stays pushed in. I'm going to click on slide 2, and notice my cursor is a little paintbrush. Anything I click and drag across, and I did put my cursor in the right spot. Okay, I lost it, but that's good, so you can see what happens. You got to make sure you click inside it, like that, and then I did my Format Painter, and I copied it. Now, one little trick you can do is you can double click, and if you double click when you do Format Painter, it will stay pushed in so that you can just keep highlighting. And then when you're done, then you turn it off. So if you click only once, you get one shot. If you double click, you get infinite shots until you turn it off. Okay, so that is Format Painter, and it works with other things too. Like if I was to make this, you know, let's say I was going to make this color, the background of this, I could also format paint that, right? I can go to Home, Format Painter, and it would copy it, right? So it's not just text. It can do that to anything. Okay, the next thing is header and footer. We're going to go to Insert, Header and Footer, and you basically have 3 spots along the bottom. You really only have control of what's in the middle. So you can add a date and time, which will automatically come in, I believe, on the left, and you can add the slide number, which will come in on the right. But the footer right here is the only thing you get to type in, and here you would type in your name or whatever. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply that to all, and now it shows up on every page. So it's got the date and the name and the slide number, and you could leave that out if you wanted to. You could not check the box if you didn't want the slide number or the date. Okay, the next thing is layouts. So when you're adding a new slide, you can click on a new slide right here, this little arrow. So new slide, if you turn it in, it will just do whatever, I don't know, usually it does a content slide. But if you pull the arrow down, you can choose which kind you want. So I can say, oh, I want this one to be a section header or something. But if you already have an existing slide, then you would just go to layout and you can change it to something else. Okay, so I'm actually going to add a new slide here and make it a section header just for fun. Okay, and notice this is a different type of slide. So like title slide is designed to have a big title and your name. A section header is like a subheading, right? And then your classic title and content. And then you also could have your to content, which basically makes it into columns. Another one is the comparison. And then title only is another one where there's just no, sure I did that on the one that's got some writing in it, but title only gets rid of everything except the title. And then of course you could do blank as well, but we're not going to do that because I don't need to do that. Okay, so those are kind of the main ones that you would use for layouts. The next one is cut and paste. So I'm going to put some text in here. Okay, so I just put some random bullets in here. So let's say I want to move some bullets over to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these 3 bullets. Now I could copy it, but if I did that, then I would have it twice, right? I don't necessarily, in this case, it'd probably be better to cut it. So it's basically sitting here on my clipboard. So if I click on this, it shows my clipboard and it shows that it's sitting there waiting to be pasted. So if I click over here and I paste, or if I just click paste, it'll put it in there. Okay, so whenever you cut something, it's sitting in this invisible clipboard, and you can always go check it to make sure it's there. If you close the document before you paste it, though, you'll lose it. So it's only temporary. It won't stay on the clipboard very long. Okay, so that's cut and paste. Reordering outline bullets. So an outline bullet, if you've done outlines before, if you press tab, it will go in a level, right? And I could tab this one in even more, right? If I want to go back, I have to do shift tab, which lets me go back a step. Okay, and I'm doing that. So if I want to add a new one, I can do this. Right, and I can go in, right, and I can go back. So shift tab takes you back a level, okay, and that's how you reorder your option. Right, the next thing is word art. So with word art, you can go to insert and do word art and pick one, and it will insert it in. Okay, this is word art. But what if you've already typed something in and you really want it to turn into word art? You don't want to have to redo it. But if it's already in a text box, it's already, I mean, the whole point of word art is that it's pretty and it can be moved. So if it's already in a text box like this, it already is word art. You just want to make it pretty. So you can just choose a style from here, and then it's already word art. So that kind of converts it into word art. Okay. One little side note about F4. So if you do something like this, and then you click on this, and I push the F4 function key, it will always copy whatever I did last. It's very useful in PowerPoint. If I do something else, if I go do this and then I try to do F4, it's going to do what I did last, which was type the letter J, right? So it always just copies whatever you did last. So whenever there's something you have to do multiple times, F4 can be very useful. I've used it for lots of different things in PowerPoint. So just a little FY, it's the function key. So make sure that you're not pushing the F and then the 4, but you're actually pushing F4 in the box, okay? Up along the top of your keyboard. Okay, so the next thing is alignment, and this is, again, very basic. So I'm going to do left, right, center, justify. So left is what we're at right now. It's going to put it on the left side of the margin. Right, it puts it all the way to the right. Center centers it. And justify, you can't really see unless you have a paragraph. We could take something like this, and we could justify it. Well, it has to be a full paragraph. Let me show you. Okay, so I just inserted a couple of paragraphs here. So I can highlight that and I can do full justify, and that makes it even on both sides. It makes it look like kind of like a newspaper column. Okay, so that's what full justify is. Also, there's emphasis, which is another one that we learned in Word and Excel. I can highlight something, I can bold it. I can also underline it, or I can italicize it. There's lots of ways to do that. You can do it right here. You can do Control I. Control I is italics. Control B is bold, and Control U is underline. So, oops. So, you can do any one of those. All right, the next thing is shapes. So we're going to go to a blank page here with shapes. This is the one I left with a blank area. And in your assignment, you'll want to set it to title only. We're going to draw a couple of shapes. So I'm going to go to Insert Shape, and I'm just going to pick a shape and draw it. And then Insert Shapes, pick a shape and draw it. And you can just draw a bunch of shapes in here. Okay. So those are your shapes, and then you're going to do several things to these shapes. First of all, you want to know how to change the fill color. So when you click on a shape, the drawing tools are going to come up, and Shape Fill will let me change the color of the shape itself. Okay. I can also change the outline, which is, I can do no outline, which is what I do most of the time, or I can put an outline in there. I can change how thick it is. I can make it dashed, or different ways I can have it look. There's also shape effects, which is like a bevel, or I can add soft edges, which shades it out. I could add a reflection to it. I can add a glow to it. 3D rotation lets it go all kinds of weird directions. And there's even one called preset that has some pretty cool ones in here that you can choose from. You also have these shape styles. So when you pull them down, you can put your cursor of them. They'll tell you what they're called. And you can click on that, and it's kind of a shortcut. I use this one all the time when I'm just making a quick slideshow or a quick button or something. And so this is how you can make buttons. You can make it look like an actual button. You can also type in it. Okay, click here. So as long as your cursor is on top of it, you can start typing. And then you can treat your text like any other text. I can make it bigger. I can go to text fill right here. This is where I can kind of change the color. I can even add an outline to it. I can add text effects like a bevel or a glow or something, or reflection. So I can still treat that the same, but it's part of it. It's not separated. It's part of the shape. You can't separate the text from the shape. When you're adding colors to a shape, notice you have the same stuff over here that you did when you did background. So you can do gradients, right? You can still create a gradient. We can do picture texture fills, so you can use the textures that you have if you wanted to. You can do insert an actual picture. So let me see if I can find something. We'll use this one already, but we can put a picture inside of it. And if you do a picture, sometimes you can tile it so that it kind of spreads it out a little bit. And you could do patterns if you wanted to. So just know that those are options. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about are placeholders. So a placeholder looks like this. It's one of these things that lets you type. It's like a little box, and a placeholder can just be a text placeholder where you're entering it, okay? Or, and it looks like I've used all of mine, so let me get a new one. Okay, I'm going to make this one this one. Okay, so this placeholder, it shows all these different places. There's actually 8 of them. Now in your assignment, you're only going to do 6 of these, but if you click on it, it's a little shortcut that helps you create what's in that. Okay, so I can do a table, and it will turn it into a table. It'll replace it as a table. I believe on table I do make you merge it. So when you're doing your tables, you want to highlight across like this, and then right click and merge cells like that. Okay. Another one you can do is a chart. So again, if you've done Excel, this will be pretty easy, but you would click on a chart, choose the chart type that you want, and then click OK. And you're welcome to change the information on here. So I think in your assignment, I tell you to do random stuff and then just type stuff in here. I don't really care about the numbers. I just want you to see how it changes and adjusts according to what you type in. Right? So we'll get into way more detail about how to make the graph effective, but right now I just want you to close this. I just want you to practice using the placeholders. Okay, another one is Smart Art. You can click on this, and there's lots of different kinds of Smart Art in here. Again, we're not going to go into any detail. I just want you to know what it does. So just click on it, choose a Smart Art, click OK. You don't even have to type anything in it. Just now I know how to insert a Smart Art from a placeholder. This one will let you insert an online 3D model. So they're kind of fun. You just click on them and choose one. We'll do the little elf here, insert that. And then it's a 3D model, which allows me to move it. I haven't seen 3D models, I don't think, in any PowerPoint tests I've taken. That doesn't mean it's not there, but I did see 3D models in the Word test. So it may be something that they test, but it does allow me, when you have a 3D model, you can move it like this. Oh, it looks like it took all the ones that I clicked on. Okay, so you can have multiples, and that's kind of what your 3D model does. It's kind of cool. Okay, the next one is this one right here, which lets me pull in a picture. So it's just a quick way to pull in a picture. Don't ask me why I have a picture of a knife right there. This one is a shortcut to adding an image from online, which I think this is the one you get to skip for this particular one. This one will let you pull in a video, but only if the video is already saved in your folder. So if you already have a video saved as like a movie file or an MP4 or something, it will let you pull it in as a video. If you're copying and pasting from like YouTube or something, you'll have to do it a different way, and we'll talk about that later. And then this last one is an icon. It just lets you pull in icons. For some reason in my classroom, icons don't always work. Sometimes kids can pull them up, sometimes they can't. So if your icon isn't working when you do the assignment, just put a picture there instead. It's okay. You've seen it, that's how it works. It's not hard to figure out. All right, we're going to go back up to here, and we're going to insert some objects. So an object is anything that can be moved or animated. So it can be text, it can be anything that's in its own text box. Okay, so a picture or whatever. So we're going to insert 4 different types of objects. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture from this device. And for you guys, you'll pull one in that's already been saved. It's like a rubber duck. That's what you'll pull in for yours. So that's just one that's saved that way. You'll also do insert. You're going to insert an online image. Again, if your online images are not working, then just go copy and paste one from the internet. Just open the internet and go copy and paste something. Okay, so now I have my next one ready to go. Now when you pull it from online images, a lot of times it will have this. That's great and all, but for our purposes, we don't need that, so we're going to delete that. We don't need it. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is insert an icon. So I'm going to go and get an icon of any kind, and we're going to do this little cat. Okay, so there's my little kitty right there. And the last one I'm going to do is a word art. So I'm going to go to Insert Word Art, and I'll just click on something and type in, I think in yours I tell you to type emphasis. Okay, so now I've got 4 different things that I'm ready to animate. So let's learn how to, so that's how you insert objects. Okay, those are just some, so icons, online pictures, whatnot. Okay, we're going to learn the different ways to animate now, and there are 4 types of animation. So I'm going to click on the Animations tab here, and as you can see, it's all grayed out because I don't have anything highlighted. You want to turn on your animation pane, which is going to tell you what's going on, what order they're coming in. So you're going to click on one of them, and it tells you in your lesson which one to do. And a green one means it's going to come in. Okay, so if you put a green one in, that means that when one other thing as well is in all of these, you can pull this down and you can do more entrance, more emphasis. There are more options in here that don't show up here. So if you really want to look through them, you can. Using too many animations can be obnoxious. They really should only be used if they are going to make the way you're teaching better. So like it has it come in one at a time so you can talk about it one at a time. You really don't want to just have cars randomly flying around your thing unless you have a reason. Okay. Another one is play from, which is up here. This is just, if I click on this, it will play it from where I start. If I wanted to play it from here, I would just play it from there. So play from just lets me decide at what location, from where, you might have like a ton of them down here. So if you're like, I don't want to watch them all, I just want to watch it from the middle, then you can do that. Okay. You can change the order. So if you click on them, you can move them in here and have them come in different orders. So that's how you would change the order that they're coming in. Another thing you can do is animate your bullets to come in one at a time. So this is best for bullets, but if I animate these bullets and I just animate it, they're going to come in one at a time like that. Okay, so let's watch that and see what happens. So I click on it, I click, oh, it's at the end here. Just got to go through all those. I click, and notice it stays there until I click again. The second one comes in, I click again, the third one, I click again, the fourth one, right? So what if I want them all to come in at the same time? Notice I've got effect options here. So I can say all at once. Okay, now they come in all at once. Okay, so most of these are going to have that. Like if I click on this, the pulse, it has effect options. If I click on this one, it has effect options. They often let you choose something like that. Okay. Now let's say that I want this to exit, or like this one, I want it to come in and then I want it to do something else. I want to put more than one on the same thing. So if I click on this, and right now it's got a motion path on it, and I'm like, oh, and then I want it to exit, it replaced it. Okay, it's no longer a motion path. I can only put one on it. So I'm going to do Control Z to go back to before that. So if I want to add a second animation to the same thing, I have to go to Add Animation, and then when I put the fade in, it's going to come in. So now there's picture 13 here and then picture 13 here. But it's out of order, so I'm going to click on this and move it up so that now when I watch it, it comes in and then disappears, right? So you can put more than one on the same thing. You just have to do it from the Add Animation folder or drop-down menu. All right, another one is numbering. This is super simple. If I wanted to number these instead of having them in bullets, I would go to Home, I highlight them, and I just push the number button right here. And then we're going to talk about sound. There's 3 main ways of adding sound. The third way we won't get to for another couple lessons, but the first one is adding it to an animation, and the second is adding it to a transition. So you would highlight something that's animated, and you actually, in your animation pane, you're going to pull this arrow down and go to Effect Options. And then where it says No Sound, you're going to pull the arrow down and pick one of the awful, horrible sounds that come with PowerPoint. Okay, they're kind of obnoxious. I wouldn't use them in a professional setting. I would find my own sounds just because everyone, I don't know, it's just, oh, there's that stupid applause sound again. Everybody knows this dumb sound, right? So, but that is, for our purposes, we're just practicing today, but make sure you know how to add a sound to an animation, okay? Now you can also add sounds to transition. So if you go to the transition tab, right here, it lets you add a sound. Okay, and you can't hear it till you actually watch it. But I could add a sound to every single one, or I could just do apply to all, and it would apply that same sound to everything. But by doing that, I also made them all have the same transition as well. So it's going to apply everything. See, now it changed. I had a different transition on each one, but because I did apply to all, it will take whatever's on that slide and make them all the same. So be warned on that. Notice that also when you go to choose this, you can also do other sound. So if you had another sound saved, you could use that sound instead. It doesn't have to be one of the ones that come with the program, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to do that for this assignment. All right, you want to make sure you can run your show, so you can press F5, or you can go to slideshow and do from beginning, and you can actually watch this show. You can click through it, and as you can see, that same transition every time is really obnoxious. So it's a good idea to pick something like fade or something that's not so annoying, but you can actually flip through the whole thing, okay? The last thing is printing options. I just want you to be aware of some of the options for printing. So you can go to File, Print. Notice that the default is to print all slides, like all 10 slides full color. That's obnoxious. Like you never want to just print from PowerPoint because rarely is this what you want to do. So you want to pull this down and choose different options. So I could do notes pages where it leaves a big blank area so I could hand those out to students and they could, you know, write notes on every page. I could do an outline if I just want the physical. Maybe I'm going to give a talk, and so I'm going to present this, but I want the outline in front of me. It just puts everything into text. Okay, that can be very useful. 1 slide, 2 slides, but another one is the 3 slides will have, let's go back a step, it will actually have a spot for you to write notes on each one. Okay. The one that you're probably going to use for your assignment, I believe I had you guys do 9 slides, or 6, I think it's 6 slides because I think there's 6 in the total one. So if you do 6 slides, for some reason it's not changing. There we go. Okay, it'll just show all the slides that you have set up. Okay, so that's 6 slides. There's also 9. There's 4, whatever. Okay, so if you are printing, you're going to want to set it to 6 slides and go ahead and print. If your teacher wants you to turn in digitally, then do that. But it is important that you understand how to print in this program. All right, so those are all the basics of PowerPoint. We're going to expand on all of those in the next assignment. We're going to spend more time on tables, more time on charts. We're going to actually go into some detail with each of these features and make sure you have them on a deeper level. But again, it's going to assume that you already know how to do all this. So hopefully you're good and you're ready to go on to lesson 1.